Hey, Patrick Lovell coming to you on July 10th, 2022 at 1:32 p.m. my time. Just a nice Sunday in the afternoon, getting ready to go on a mountain bike ride. Not shaving, obviously doing a bunch of stuff around the house and things that I have to do for the family and everything that normal people do. But I have to chime in here because there's no time, considering all the other things that I have to do. But something just came into stark focus that has been perplexing me for a very long time. I literally just sat and watched on one of Russell Brand's features an interview with none other than David Sirota about things that, from where I'm coming from, would be extremely predictable, but it answers a lot of questions that I've had. So I've been calling out David Sirota for some time. Why? Because if you lost your house to foreclosure, an illegal foreclosure at that, I have presented unbelievable mountains of evidence of this ongoing insane criminality by our judicial system that's fueled, quite frankly, by our financial policy. Okay? I basically laid it out for him and his team, which are fantastic, and I think they do a lot of fantastic work. But I kept scratching my head as to, well, what the hell is going on here? Why would they put up a big wall to try to prevent, a sort of a partnership, a liaison to this information to try to make some things happen for a lot of different reasons? Now, the reason that happened was because one of the greatest filmmakers of all time actually opened up the introduction to David Sirota on my behalf. His name is Alex Gibney. Alex Gibney is my favorite documentarian of all time. I think he's the most prolific documentarian and one of the best filmmakers of my lifetime. And I actually went to Alex Gibney with the freaking con before I even got on first base in terms of what I know. Meanwhile, I've been laying all of this stuff out, most especially like I've been laying out on these truth bombs to you, the purpose and the rationale of, in what actually was accomplished through quantitative easing, which purchased toxic assets, which we show you every aspect of what took place in the con at www.thecon.tv. We didn't get on HBO. We didn't get on Netflix. We weren't able to present this monumental truth outside of self-distribution, and we got some great press at the time, and I've been involved with a lot of things, including none other than Crystal Ball. In fact, Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske invited me on their show with my partner, Eric Vaughn, and if you look at it on their Spotify broadcast, you'll see, and many of you have seen on TikTok, stuff that we've been involved with Crystal Ball and Sagar at one point, and then also with Crystal and Kyle. I'm a very big admirer of Crystal specifically. I think she's got incredible instinct and everything else. There's a lot of things that happen in media behind the scenes, and like I've been telling you, there's the A-list of the corporate media that operates a certain way, and then there's these sorts of next-level independent media, starting with Joe Rogan and, quite frankly, Crystal and Sagar, I think is the way it's pronounced, and and Kyle, and of course Russell and Jimmy Dore and others. I mean, these guys have come in. They've asked all the right questions, out of that group. Quite frankly, the only ones that I consider sort of journalists or somebody that has the sort of chops to actually get the stories right in a way that aren't just reactionary and that sort of thing is Crystal Ball. But I love what Joe Rogan's done for years, minus a lot of stupid things that he's been involved with, not to mention, I don't even want to make this about Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan reaches, 11 million viewers plus per episode. And then, of course, I'm a huge fan. I absolutely love Russell Brand, but I've had contact to his gatekeepers, and I've been trying to ping him for 6 months now about the information that we have on the con. Why would I do that? Well, because Russell Brand is out there saying, look, we've got to have this great awakening. We've got to understand what actually is creating the corruption so that we can have this mass movement to create this sort of, this is my interpretation of it because this is what I say, a monumental tidal wave to purge corruption. Okay, good on you, Russell, except you're not paying attention to the information that I've been giving you. And I've been looking at the lay of the land and everything from Matt Taibbi, who is, a journalist who actually got my attention initially. I wanted Matt Taibbi to play me in the con, but eventually that didn't work out because Matt does things his way. And, of course, Matt had inroads on Joe Rogan and Matt has told a lot of the same story that we've told in the con, except they never went the distance because they didn't have access to the people that we have access to in the con. That was the work we did. I don't want to say that I'm in competition with those guys. They've made it about blocking us out because, I haven't gotten an invitation to talk on Russell Brand, and they haven't even looked into us, even though on Crystal Ball's show, if you look at the Spotify lineup, you'll see literally Russell Brand and then Patrick Lovell and Eric Vaughn and David Sirota. Now, you can't make this shit up because when I just watched David Sirota, basically, he's pulling stuff from what it is that I've sent to him. Not to mention stuff that I've laid out on, my truth bombs and everything else. And I'm actually flattered, even though he's not giving me credit for it, because he's sending the right message. Good for you, David. If you happen to get this, I'm happy for you that you finally get in your head around the fact that corruption fuels fucking fascism. No shit, Sherlock. So that's, where I come from, and that's what I'm trying to end no matter what. But here's the thing about David Sirota, and this is the closest I've ever seen him get, because you need to understand this about where I started with Alex Gibney and David Sirota. Yes, they did a podcast called Meltdown. And that Meltdown podcast is basically the same formulation of the con, but directed towards a political sort of problem with Barack Obama, the Democrats, and what they did. And they definitely scratched the surface of a lot of very important parts. And I think they got the political stuff fantastic. And I think they got the stuff from the Lovell hearings absolutely perfect. And that is what I would expect from somebody as fantastic as Alex Gibney. I worship Alex Gibney, but I'm pissed that we didn't get into, into cahoots together, considering what we've got. We've been blocked out. My team and I have been blocked out from telling this truth, and we've got the freaking truth that all of them are dancing around the periphery, but nobody seems to understand what it all actually constitutes. And now it's engulfed to everybody. I'm talking mainstream media. I'm talking CNBC. I'm talking the dialogue that is happening in every direction on independent media, but most particularly with the names that I've referenced above. And they all keep dancing around the circle. I'm going to steal a phrase from David Sirota that he stole from me because I actually said this on I believe I said it on Crystal Ball. They're digging in the wrong place, which was reference to my favorite film of all time, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indy and Sala were actually, looking for the Ark, and they found out because the staff of Ra had half the information on it, and what the Nazis had, they didn't have the other side of the information. By the way, that's a thing. It's called asymmetric information, and that's what's happening to all of you. And I'm telling you the full truth. But here's the thing. There's millions of you out there, and I see you on TikTok and Twitter, I should say, every day, that are like, oh my God, people aren't listening to me. There's corruption in the courts. Oh my God, I've proved that, this servicer and this law firm and this guy did that and that and this. And they're saying that, okay, all of this corruption has been used to foreclose upon me, and the judges aren't actually looking into discovery and understanding what happened. No shit. That's what we detail in the con, www.thecon.tv. And I've got more. I've got so much more that would boggle your fucking minds. And if I land this one, talent that I've been working on for over a year, if something came together with him, the whole world would listen to it in 1 second. But one thing I've been, proven time and time again, when I see it on social media, I see people reacting to stuff that I do in all of these different calibrations, whether it's, TikTok, whether it's Facebook, whether it's, Twitter, whether it's, quite frankly, Instagram. People start coming in and they start saying things, oh my God, did you know about this? Or, oh my God, that tells me something that makes them think. They don't know the whole freaking robust story that we've put on there because mainstream and the people that should be talking about the con aren't. It all comes down to control fraud. Control fraud is what we lay out in the con that created the 2008 great financial crisis that's actually been around for some time, starting, I think, in a big way in the 80s, primarily with the S&L crisis, and that was a test run to ultimately create the situation that we're in now. And so you got David Sirota on Russell Brand talking about how Obama screwed the pooch because he became the biggest disappointment in our lifetimes. Why? Because he rolled in on this New Deal, populist mandate, and then ultimately he went and bailed Wall Street out. That's Obama. He's duplicitous. He got it right. Sorry, I wanted to see bin Laden get smoked, and thank God under bin Laden, it's so funny saying Osama and Obama and all the rest. But, Obama, under his watch, yeah, we fragged Osama. Thank God. That was one piece of the equation, but he let Wall Street get away with the financial terrorism that destroyed millions upon millions of people and let the freaking Federal Reserve pumped $50 trillion. It's not. David Sirota just said, oh man, they got 13 trillion. Where'd that figure come from, David? Have you ever read the fucking Levy study that I sent to you a long time ago? It was $29 trillion in 2009. And that didn't include quantitative easing, you moron. All you got to do is go check out what Dennis Kelleher put on Better Markets a long time ago. The cost of what we call the rap sheet of the too big to fail institutions that got trillions upon trillions of dollars for basically burying millions of Americans. You know, and I saw this on a comment the other day. This guy said, well, people didn't need to take loans. They weren't forced to take loans. You fucking moron. People who say that, first of all, we're a debt-based structure. The entirety of our situation of people financing and doing this and that and everything else, and it's supposed to be predicated on underwriting. And then also reps and warranties. That's our entire system. That's why I keep talking about integrity. You don't loan to somebody who can't afford to pay back something so that you can bet the house on the fact that it's going to fail. That's what they fucking did in the 2008 great financial crisis. Then they collapsed, and then they walked with $29 trillion for fucking burying 50 million people, and then they've done it ever since, okay? That's where the $29 trillion started. In 2019, we gave another $20 trillion for a run of derivatives, and then we had the CARES Act, and then everything else, you know, and more, I would imagine, you know? It's just, I'm so fired up because the fact is that even guys that are on my side, Russell and David and everything else, they're playing in their own fucking sandbox. And they, you know, they're pissing on your head telling you it's rain because they're not telling you the whole story. And the whole story is the con. You can't, you know, David, Russell, you can't tell little bits and pieces and go, oh yeah, now we're going to fucking have the grand revolution, right? You got to understand that we had a crime syndicate that set everybody up based on illegal reps and warranties and deceptive acts and practices, which were illegal, that the goddamn Federal Reserve was mandated under HOEPA statutes, Homeowner Equity Protection Act, to be able to regulate the industry. And we set forth in a number of different arenas, but primarily in our podcast called The New Untouchables, where we proved that former chairman of the board, Alan Greenspan, actually knew exactly from one of the heads of the board of directors of the Philadelphia Fed, who was the president of the Philadelphia Fed, a guy by the name of Ned Gramlich, told him what all of these people who I went to in Ohio found in terms of all of the aspects of illegal reps and warranties and deceptive acts and practices, which were predicated on predatory lending. And Alan Greenspan was supposed to check that, end it, but he didn't. So one thing leads to another. He retires. Bernanke comes in. Then we wind up with this $29 trillion, what's it called? Fucking maximum bailout under Federal Reserve Act 13.3. Okay? I know what I'm fucking talking about. I've been doing it nonstop. I'm the guy that's been telling you the truth. And I continue to see these guys like Sirota, tell half-truths. And it's like, why? Because my gut tells me that it's embarrassing to people like Bernie and Elizabeth and quite frankly AOC who, got elected based on saying, okay, they're going to help people, they're going to purge corruption, they're going to do this, and they talk a big game and platitudes and everything else, but they don't give you the details of the crime. And at the end, it's not rocket science, it's racketeering. And we found the only RICO conviction in the entire fucking world that actually manifested this whole thing. And I got the word from the FBI, the DOJ, and the SEC and everybody else on why it didn't happen at the highest levels. And yeah, Sirota, by the way, David and Alex Gibney, they went to most of the sources that we put in the con. Just so you know. Okay? But they didn't ask them the same questions that we asked. Watch the fucking con. www.thecon.tv. Do I sound like I'm fucking crazy? You would be too if you had the whole world basically trying to prevent the truth that you spent 13 years of your life trying to find after you yourself got buried, which I did. And we figured it out. And we pulled it off. And I am so sick and tired of lies and the cauldron of lies and deceit and deception and misinformation, everything else being the currency of what exists today. The truth has got to matter more than this insane globalized sphere of lies. How else can we describe it? Everybody on the upside is in on it. Everybody down below is a victim of it. And here's the situation. All the victims are navel gazing. They can't fucking work for themselves. They can't come together to go, oh my God, they're raping and pillaging the system and we're letting them get away with it. Yeah, we are. Where's your patriotism? Where's your courage? Where's your integrity? What about the future for your children? I mean, all of this stuff. It doesn't matter if it's systemic racism in prison. It doesn't matter if it's global climate change. It doesn't matter if it's the stuff that's happening in the Supreme Court. Every single thing that I'm talking to you about intersects with corruption. And when you find out that the Federal Reserve can digitize money into thin air to buy toxic assets, what the fuck are you going to do then? especially now that they're going to blame it on everybody else who wasn't in on it, because that's what they're going to do when they pull the rug out from under everybody, like you're, a cartoon character in the fucking Roadrunner show. The bottom line is that they're going to, increase interest rates. They're going to try to collapse the economy because they're going to blame inflation on you after they gave $50 trillion to these motherfuckers that pulled this off. And a lot of my friends played ball in this thing. And you know what? Good for you. Get your piece while you can. It's not your fault our system's this way. And you got to go where the money is. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, I actually care about liberty and justice for all and the integrity of the United States. And apparently, I'm the only one who'd be willing to go to the distance to tell you the truth. And why? Well, hopefully everybody's going to say, this is the dude I'm going to start listening to, even though it's a Sunday and he's not shaving and he's just a regular guy. Why? Because I can't fucking sit on the sidelines and wait for the right moment and the right way to be able to tell you all so that I look like a pretty boy that's charming and it's like, legit. No, fuck it, man. We have no time to waste. Everything's on the goddamn line. Onwards and upwards.